Would you look at that? It's me. It's Johnny B here, and I'm here to play some video games. Zelda in particular, this one. I just leveled up at this goddess statue last time I played, so that was rad. But you know, you can't just get straight into playing Zelda. You gotta ease into it. You gotta play a little bit of Mario Kart, maybe some Tetris, maybe read some Russian literature. Who's to say? Who's to say? Oh, it's me. I'm the one to say. Anyway, those are a little bit dirty, so I'm gonna take them off. So I've been reading this book, The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And in this book there's also an afterword by Sarah Paretsky, so that's cool. That's cool. It was translated by Constance Garnett, so I'm just taking Constance's word for it, really. I mean, Dostoevsky could really just be full of shit and kind of suck, for all I know, but the way Constance Garnett has, you know, what's that word I'm looking for? Translated this. It's right there. That's the word I was looking for. It says translated. Anyway, I'm reading it and I'm liking it. And the next chapter I'm about to read is called The Grand Inquisitor. And the reason I decided to read this here today is because on the back of the book, or like right there, it calls out this chapter. It calls it the featuring the famous chapter, The Grand Inquisitor. This is Dostoevsky's masterpiece. It's at once a complex character study, a riveting murder mystery, and a fascinating examination of man's morality and the question of God's existence. So you can't just jump into anything. You gotta stretch and whatnot. So here we go. I'm gonna stretch a little bit while I catch you up. So there's these three brothers, and they're all... The thing they have in common is they have this douchebag of a dad whose name is Fyodor Karamazov, and he was a lackey. He kind of sucked up to people to try to gain favor, and he made a buffoon of himself just because he knew that it would get him a little bit of benefit there. What else do you need to know? It's a fucking dense book. There's a lot happening on every line. So one son, his mom dies. He gets sent away to go live somewhere else because Fyodor doesn't care. He just wants to drink and have parties and orgies and stuff like that. And he was even having these orgies and shit with the kid around. So he's a bad dude. He's not somebody who you would want raising kids anyway. Then he gets married again, and he has two sons with this lady, and then she dies or whatever, and they get sent off to go live with somebody, and all three kids, after they leave him, he makes sure that it's very clear that they will get 2,000 rubles from him and no more. Not a penny more, he says. The younger brothers... The next in line is Ivan, and following him is Alyosha. Alyosha is our window into this whole family, this whole universe. Alyosha is a novice at the monastery in their town. He's sweet, he's innocent, he doesn't have any of his father's qualities, but he doesn't hate his dad either. He thinks that his dad is just kind of lost, but this kid is pure and good, and he is like the number one novice underneath like this well-renowned elder that people come from all over Russia to come talk to this dude. But he's dying, and he told Alyosha to, hey, when I die, I don't want you to stay in this monastery. I want you to go out into the world, get a wife, you know, do the thing. And he's like, but when kids talked about sex when I was back in school, they made those jokes. It just grossed me out. So he's not interested really in it all. His older brother Ivan, who he was raised with, sort of, is atheist. He's not atheist. He's a rebel. He's challenging everything. He doesn't like what's going on, and whatever is going on, he just thinks it's kind of a joke because it's not really harming him, but also he's not just gonna go along with it. His name is Ivan, and he has been in love with Katerina, who is the fiancé of their oldest brother, Dmitri. But Dmitri doesn't care. Dmitri doesn't have any love for Katerina. He just kind of... The only reason they're engaged is because he kind of was a creep bag about some things and kind of tricked her into it and called her her honor into question, and he sucks. He kind of takes after his dad a lot, but he doesn't care about Katerina because he's in love with Grushenka. Grushenka is just is some woman who lives in town, and she doesn't care about Dmitri. We know this because she's told us. She doesn't care about anybody. She is in it for Grushenka. And so, let's see. Grushenka is doing her thing. Oh, Dmitri hates Fyodor, their dad. He hates him with a passion because they are both fighting over the love of Grushenka. So and she goes with both of them, and she makes it very clear that she's just in it for the money and whatever she can get out of them. And Fyodor knows that he's like, nobody's gonna love me. Look, I'm a piece of shit. I'm known as a buffoon, but I got money, and if I got money, I'm gonna get the ladies, and that's all he cares about. And he tells his kids, hey, don't get any wise ideas. I'm not planning on dying anytime soon, and the older I get, the more money it's gonna take to keep me in the same quantity and quality of woman and drink and party and orgy. So don't expect any more money after I die either. Alyosha's doing some back and forth. He's running all the way across town and back just because... Just a second, let me jump around. So, going all the way across town and back, delivering messages, trying to fix Dimitri's fuck up, really. But along the way, he meets some kid who, like these, he sees a group of kids, and they're teasing this other kid who's off by himself, and they've all got rocks in their hands, and they see he's got rock, and Alyosha sees that kid has a rock too, but he doesn't want to get involved, but he's like, hey, you guys are outnumbering him. That's pretty fucked up. You guys are really outnumbering him. And he's like, hey. And then the kid throws a rock, and he hits Alyosha, and he's like, he wasn't throwing it at us. He's throwing it at you. He hates you. And he's like, why would he hate me? I don't even know this kid. And so he approaches the kid, and he's like, hey. Oh, because then the kid throws another rock at him, hits him in the chest. And he gets up close to him and tries to talk to him. He's like, hey, what's your fucking deal, dude? And the kid kind of yells at him a little bit, and then he gets close and he's like, what's fucking going on? Let's have this out. Tell me what's going on. And he says, nothing, and then he bites him. He bites Alyosha on the finger, and then it starts bleeding. And we find out that a couple days before, Dmitri, their older brother, was in a bar, and there was some dude sitting at... for some reason, Dmitri picked this dude. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but he dragged him out of the bar by his beard, out of the tavern, sorry. And the whole ways that he's being dragged out into the street by his beard, by Dmitri, this little boy named Ilusha is running after him, kissing Dimitri's hand. Please, forgive me, forgive my father. Blah, 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 let him go, blah, 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 you know, and just crying. His dad is in pain, and so then the kids at school all start calling this kid a wisp of tow because his beard was like kind of light blonde. That's what tow means. Like if you call somebody a towhead, you're not saying they look like a toe. You're saying that their hair is the color of tow, which is light brown. And anyway, his tow beard is a wisp of tow, and they call this kid that, and he bites the kid. Anyway, Dimitri's fiance asked Alyosha to deliver a message. And the message was, hey, here's 200 rubles. I know Dimitri's an asshole. Please don't hold it against me. That was the whole message. So Alyosha gets to the house and finds out, oh shit, this guy has a family, a pretty decent sized family, and they're all living in one room because he's disgraced himself. He was of high stature, and then he kind of drank too much and made a fool of himself, and he got like demoted, and now his whole family lives in a little room. And like his wife has some illness where he says that the doctor said she needed mineral water baths, and I'm not sure what illness is cured by a bath, but it's weird. Anyway, he goes there, he's like, hey, sorry, like my kid was angry, here's why he's angry, and gives him the whole story. And Alyosha's like, hey, here's this money. And then right at the last second, the guy's like, okay, I want this is wonderful, my whole family, we can just leave to another town. But the last second, he just like crumbles up the money and throws it on the ground, stomps on it, and then runs away. So he goes back to tell Katerina, he's like, hey, this is what the guy did. I'll go back tomorrow. He'll take the money tomorrow. Don't worry about it. He needs it. Their family needs it. He's probably going to lay awake all night, like, wishing that he had taken the money. And she's like, okay, whatever, go. And on his way home, he wants to stop and talk to his brother, Dmitri. So he goes by his brother Dmitri's house. And this other guy who we think is probably one of their brothers, but illegitimate because Fyodor took advantage of a mentally disabled woman who was homeless in their town, and they couldn't prove it, but everybody kind of thought for sure that it was Fyodor. Anyway, Fyodor's servants kind of raised that kid, and now he's an asshole, but he's smart. I don't get his deal. He says, hey, no, go see, if you want, Dimitri's over at the restaurant, go see him. And then he gets there, and it's not Dmitri that he sees, it's Ivan. So he sits down at the table with Ivan, and Ivan's going on and on about morals and asking him, is like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. Last time I saw you, I was 15, you were 9. What have you become? All I know is that you're this monk. I've been waiting to get in touch with you, but I just haven't had the chance, and here I am leaving tomorrow, and I believe there's God, but I don't believe there's blah, blah, blah. And he just goes in and he's talking all this philosophy about his life and what he thinks and history and stories that he's picked up along the way throughout his travels and his studies. But a lot of those stories, he says, have to do with suffering, and he's wondering, like, if there's a God, why is all this happening? And people always tell him, well, it's God's plan, and they're sinners, so they have to pay for sin in some way, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, fuck that. But what about the children? There are so many children out there that are suffering, and he tells like a whole bunch of really horrible stories. Like one of the stories was about some I don't know what it was. Some leader of a town, like right when at the beginning of serfdom in Russia, was cruel, and a little boy accidentally hurt one of this guy's dogs. So he had the little boy stripped and set his dogs on the kid in front of the town and in front of the mother. And then, like, there's all sorts of these stories that he keeps telling, like, around that level of fucked upness. And so he's asking Alyosha, like, what do you think about all this? Tell me, if you were the god, if you were the person creating all of this, would you do it that way? So that, like, because there's heaven, this stuff has to happen? But no, that doesn't make any sense anyway. But even if it did, these are kids. They haven't done anything wrong. They don't have the capability of doing anything wrong. So what the fuck is your deal with your god? That's basically what's his name? Ivan. Yeah, that's what Ivan is saying to him. And so I'm going to start with the last couple paragraphs so we have some context. We're going into it. The Grand Inquisitor is going to be the next chapter, and this is where we'll go. One without sin in his blood. No, I haven't forgotten him. On the contrary, I've been wondering all this time how it was that you didn't bring him up before. Usually all arguments on your side put him in before usually put him in the foreground. Do you know, Alyosha? Don't laugh. I wrote a poem a year ago. If you can waste another 10 minutes, I'll tell it to you. You wrote a poem? Oh, no, I didn't write it, I laughed, Ivan. I've never written 2 lines of poetry in my life. But I made this poem in prose, and I remember it. I was carried away when I made it up, and you will be my first reader, that is, listener. Why should an author forego even one listener? Smiled Ivan. Shall I tell it to you? Yes, I am listening, said Alyosha. My poem is called The Grand Inquisitor. It's a ridiculous thing, but I want to tell it to you. Chapter 5. The Grand Inquisitor. Even this must have a preface. That is, a literary preface, laughed Ivan. And I am a poor hand at such things. You see, my story takes place in the 16th century. It was 16th century. At that time, as you probably learned at school, it was customary in poetry to bring down heavenly powers on earth. Dante was not the only one to do this. In France, clerics as well as monks in the monasteries used to give regular performances in which the Madonna, the saints, the angels, Christ, and God himself were brought on stage. In those days, it was done in all simplicity in Victor Hugo's Notre Dame de Paris. An edifying and gratuitous spectacle was provided for the people in the Hotel de Ville of Paris in the reign of Louis XI in honor of the birth of the Dauphin? I don't fucking know, I don't speak French. It was called The Good Judgment of the Very Saintly and Gracious Virgin Mary. And she appears herself on stage and pronounces her good judgment. Similar plays based on the Old Testament were occasionally performed in Moscow, too, up to the time of Peter the Great. But, besides plays, there were all sorts of legends and ballads scattered about the world in which the saints and angels and all the powers in heaven took part when required. In our monasteries, the monks busied themselves in translating, copying, and even composing such poems, even under the Tatars. There is, for instance, one such poem, of course from the Greek, The Wanderings of Our Lady Through Hell, with descriptions as bold as Dante's Our Lady Visits Hell. And the Archangel Michael leads her through the torments. She sees the sinners and their punishments. She sees, among others, a set of sinners in a burning lake. Some of them sink to the bottom of the lake so that they can't can't swim out, and these God forgets, an expression of extraordinary depth and force. And so Our Lady, shocked and weeping, falls before the throne of God and begs for mercy for all in hell. For all she has seen there, and indiscriminately, her conversations with God is most interesting. She begs him. She will not stop. And when God points to the hands and feet of her son nailed to the cross and asks, "How can I forgive his tormentors?" she bids all the saints and all the martyrs, all the angels and all the archangels to fall down with her and pray for mercy for all without discrimination. It ends by her winning from God a respite of suffering every year from Good Friday till Trinity Day. And the sinners at once raise a cry of thankfulness from hell, chanting, "Thou art just, O Lord, in this judgment." Well, my poem would have been that kind if it had appeared at that time. He comes on the scene in my poem, but he says nothing, only appears and passes on. 15 centuries have passed since his prophet wrote, "Behold, I come quickly. Of that day and that hour knoweth no man, neither the Son but the Father, as he himself predicted on earth. But humanity awaits him with the same faith and with the same love. Oh, with greater faith, for it is 15 centuries since man has ceased to see signs from heaven. No signs from heaven come today, to add to what the heart doth say. There was nothing left but faith in what the heart did say. It is true there were many miracles in those days. There were saints who performed miraculous cures. Some holy people, according to their biographies, were visited by the Queen of Heaven herself. But the devil did not sleep, and doubts were already arising among men about the truth of these miracles. And just then there appeared on the north of Germany a terrible new heresy. A huge star like to a torch, that is, to a church, fell on the sources of the water, and they became bitter. These heretics began blasphemously denying miracles. But those who remained faithful were all the more ardent in their faith. The tears of humanity rose up to him as before, awaiting his coming. His coming loved him. Hoped for him. Yearned to suffer and die for him as before. And for so many ages as mankind prayed with faith and fervor, O Lord our God, hasten thy coming, for so many ages had mankind called upon him, that in his infinite mercy he at last designed to come down to his servants. It is true that before that day he had come down. He had visited some holy men, martyrs and hermits, as is written in their lives. Among us, Totk, with absolute faith in the truth of his words, bore witness that, bearing the cross in Slavish dress, weary and worn, the heavenly king, our mother Russia, came to bless. And through our land went wandering. And that certainly was so, I assure you. And behold, he deigned to appear for a moment to the people, to the tortured, suffering people, sunk in the iniquity, but loving him like children. My story is laid in Spain, in Seville. Let me move this a little bit. In the most terrible time of the Inquisition, when fires were lighted every day to the glory of God, and in the splendid act of faith, the wicked heretics were burned. Oh, of course, this was not the coming in which he will appear according to his promise at the end of time in all his heavenly glory, and which will be sudden as lightning flashing from the east to the west. No, he visited his children only for a moment, and there were the flames crackling round the heretics. In his infinite mercy, he came among them, and in that human shape in which he walked among them for 3 years, 15 centuries ago. He came down to the hot pavement of 100 heretics He came down to the hot pavement of the southern town in which on the day before, almost 100 heretics had, for the greater glory of God, been burned by the cardinal, the Grand Inquisitor. In a magnificent act of faith, they had been burned in the presence of the king, the court, the knights, the cardinals, and the most charming ladies of the court, the whole population of Seville. He came softly unobserved, yet strange to say to everyone recognized him. This might be one of the best passages in poem. I mean, why they recognized him? The people are irresistibly drawn to him. They surrounded him. They flocked about him, following him. He moves silently in their midst with a gentle smile of infinite compassion. The sun of love burns in his heart, and light and power shine from his eyes, and their radiance shed upon the people stirs their hearts with responsive love. He holds out his hand to them, blesses them, and a healing virtue comes from contact with him. Even with his garments, an old man in the crowd, blind from childhood, cries out, "O Lord, hear me, and I shall see thee." And, as it were, scales fall from his eyes, and the blind man sees him. The crowd weeps and kisses the earth under his feet. Children throw flowers before him, sing and cry, "Hosanna!" "It is he! It is he!" all repeat. "It must be he! It can be no one but him!" He stops at the steps of the Seville Cathedral at the moment when the weeping mourners are bringing in a little open white coffin. In it lies a child of 7, the only daughter of a prominent citizen. The dead child lies hidden in flowers. "He will raise your child," the crowd shouts to the weeping mother. The priest coming to meet the coffin looks perplexed and frowns. But the mother of the dead child throws herself at his feet with a wail. "If it is thou, raise my child," she cries, holding out her hands to him. The procession halts. The coffin is laid on the steps at his feet. He looks with compassion, and his lips once more softly pronounce, "Maiden, arise." And the maiden arises, and the little girl sits up in the coffin and looks around smiling with wide open wondering eyes, holding a bunch of white roses they had put in her hands. There are cries, sobs, confusion among the people, and at that moment the cardinal himself, the Grand Inquisitor, passes by the cathedral. He's an old man, almost 90, tall and erect with a withered face and sunken eyes, in which there's still a gleam of light. He is not dressed in his brilliant cardinal's robes as he was the day before when he was burning the enemies of the Roman Church. At this moment, he's wearing his coarse old monk's cassock. At a distance behind him come his gloomy assistants and slaves and the holy guard. He stops at the sight of the crowd and watches it from a distance. He sees everything. He sees them set the coffin down at his feet, sees the child rise up, his face darkens, he knits his thick gray brow, and his eyes gleam with a sinister fire. He holds out his finger and bids his guards, arrest him. And such is his power, so completely are the people cowed into submission and trembling obedience to him, that the crowd immediately makes way for the guards. And in the midst of the death-like silence, the guards lay hands on him and lead him away. The crowd instantly bows down to the earth like one man. Before the old Inquisitor, he blesses the people in silence and passes on. The guards lead their prisoner to the close, gloomy, vaulted prison in the ancient palace in the Holy Inquisition, and lock him in it. The day passes and is followed by the dark, burning, breathless night of Seville. The air is fragrant with laurel and lemon. In the pitch darkness, the iron door of the prison is suddenly opened, and the Grand Inquisitor himself comes in with a light, and in his hand he is alone. The door is closed at once behind him. He stands in silence, and for a minute or two he gazes into his face. At last he goes up slowly, sets the light on the table, and speaks. "Is it thou? Thou?" But receiving no answer, he adds at once, "Don't answer. Be silent. Why canst thou say indeed? I know too well what thou wouldst say, and thou hast no right to add anything to what thou hadst said of old. Why then art thou coming to hinder us? For thou hast come to hinder us, and thou knowest that. But dost thou know that what will be tomorrow? I know not who thou art, and care not to know whether it is thou or only a semblance of him. But tomorrow I shall condemn thee and burn thee at the stake as the worst of heretics. And the very people who have today kissed thy feet, tomorrow at the faintest sign from me will rush to heap up the embers of thy fire. Knowest thou that? Yes, maybe thou knowest it," he added thoughtfully. Penetration. Never for a moment taking... Wait, shit. These pages are thin. Sometimes I turn through. Sorry. Yes, maybe thou knowest that. Yes, maybe thou knowest it, he added with thoughtful penetration. Never for a moment taking his eyes off the prisoner. "I don't quite understand it. I don't quite understand, Ivan. What does it mean?" Alyosha, who had been listening in silence, asked with a smile. "Is it simply a fantasy or a mistake of the part of the old man? Some impossible mistaken identity?" "Take it as the last," said Ivan, laughing. "If you are so corrupted by modern realism that you can't stand fantasy, if you like it to be the case of mistaken identity, let it be so. It is true," he went on laughing, "and the old man was 90. He might well have been crazy over his set idea. He might have been struck by the appearance of the prisoner. It might, in fact, be simply his ravings, the delusion of an old man of 90, overexcited by the act of faith of 100 heretics the day before. But does it matter to us, after all, whether it was a mistake of identity or a wild fantasy? All that matters is that the old man should speak out, should speak openly of what he has thought in silence for 90 years. And the prisoner too is silent? Does he look at him and not say a word?" "That's inevitable," Ivan laughed. "The old man has told him he hasn't the right to add anything to what he has said of old. One may say it is the most fundamental feature of the Roman Catholicism. In my opinion, at least, all has been given by thee to the Pope, they say, and all therefore is still in the Pope's hands. And there is no need for thee to come now at all. Thou must not meddle for the time at least." That's how they speak and write it too. The Jesuits, at any rate. "I have read it myself in the works of the theologians. Hast thou the right to reveal to us one of the mysteries of the world from which thou hast come?" my old man asks him, and answers the question for him. "No, thou hast not. Thou mayest not add what has been said of old, and mayest not take from men the freedom which thou didst exalt
when thou wast on the earth. Whatsoever thou revealest, anew will encroach on men's freedom of faith. For it will be manifest as a miracle, and the freedom of their faith was dearer to thee than anything else in those 1500 years ago, in those days 1500 years ago. Didst thou not often say then, I will make you free, but now thou hast seen these free, or did thou not often say, I will make you free? But now thou hast seen these free men, the old man adds suddenly, with a pensive smile. Yes, we've paid dearly for it, he goes on, looking sternly at him. But at last we have completed the work in thy name. For 15 centuries we have been wrestling with thy freedom, but now it is ended and over for good. Dost thou not believe that it is over for good? Thou lookest meekly at me, and deignest not even to be angry with me? But let me tell thee now that now, today, people are more persuaded than ever that they have perfect freedom. Yet they have brought their freedom to us and laid it humbly at our feet. But that has been our doing. Was this what thou didst? Was this thy freedom? I don't understand, Alyosha broke in again. Is he ironical? Is he joking? No, not at all. He claims it's a merit for himself and his church, and that at last they have vanquished freedom and have done so to make men happy. For now, he is speaking of the Inquisition, of course, for the first time it has become possible to think of the happiness of men. Man was created a rebel, and now rebels can be happy. And how can rebels be happy? Thou wast warned, he says to him. Thou hast had no lack of warnings, but thou didst not listen to those warnings. Thou didst reject the only way by which men be made happy. But fortunately, departing, thou didst hand on the work to us. Thou hast promised, thou hast established thy word by thy word. Thou hast given to us the right to bind and to unbind. And now, of course, thou canst not think of taking it away. Why then hast thou come to hinder us? And what's the meaning of no lack of warnings? Asked Alyosha. What's the chief part of what the old man must say? Why, that's the chief part of what the old man must say. The wise and dread spirit, the spirit of self-destruction and non-existence, the old man goes on, the great spirit talked with thee in the wilderness, and we are told in the books that he tempted thee. Is that so? And could anything truer be said than what he revealed to thee in 3 questions, which thou didst reject? And which in the books is called the temptation? And yet, if there has ever been on earth a real miracle, it took place on that day of the 3 temptations. The statement of those, the 3 questions, was itself a miracle. Imagine, simply for the sake of the argument, that those 3 questions, the dread spirit had perished. Imagine simply for the sake of argument that those 3 questions of the dread spirit had perished utterly from the books, and that we had to restore them and to invent them anew. To do so, we had gathered all the wise men of earth, rulers, chiefs, priests, learned men, philosophers, poets, and had set them the task of inventing 3 questions, such as would not only fit the occasion, but express in 3 words, 3 human phrases, the whole future history of the world and humanity. Dost thou believe that all the wisdom of the earth united could have invented anything in depth and force equal to the 3 questions which were actually put to thee by the wise and mighty spirit in the wilderness? From those questions alone, from the miracle of their statement, we can see that we have here to do not with the fleeting human intelligence, but with the absolute and eternal. For in those, the three questions, the whole subsequent history of mankind is, as it were, brought together into one whole, and foretold. In them are united all the unsolved historical contradictions of human nature. At the time, it could not be so clear, since the future was unknown, but now that 1500 years have passed, we see that everything in those three questions was so justly divined and foretold, and has been so truthfully fulfilled that nothing can be added to them or taken away from them. Judge thyself who was right, thou or he who questioned thee then. Remember, the first question, its meaning was this: thou wouldst go into the world and art going with empty hands, with some promise of freedom which men in their simplicity and their natural unruliness cannot even understand, for which they fear and dread. For nothing has ever been more insupportable for man and a human society than freedom. But seest thou these stones in the parched and barren wilderness? Turn them into bread, and mankind will run after thee like a flock of sheep, grateful and obedient, though forever trembling, lest thou withdraw thy hand and deny them thy bread. But thou wouldst not deprive man of freedom, and didst reject the offer, thinking, what is that freedom worth, if obedience is bought with bread? Thou didst reply that man lives not by bread alone, but dost thou know that for the sake of that earthly bread, the spirit of the earth will rise up against thee, and will strive with thee and overcome thee? And all will follow him crying, and all will follow him, crying, who can compare with this beast? He has given us fire from heaven. Dost thou know that the ages will pass, and humanity will proclaim by the lips of their sages that there is no crime and therefore no sin? There is only hunger. Feed men and ask them, and then ask of them virtue. That's what they'll write on the banner, which they will raise against thee, with which they will destroy thy temple. Where thy temple stood will rise a new building, a terrible Tower of Babel will be built again, and though, like the one of old, it will not be finished, yet thou mightest have prevented that new tower, and have cut short the sufferings of men for 1,000 years. For they will come back to us after 1,000 years of agony with their tower. They will seek us again, hidden underground in the catacombs, for we shall be again persecuted and tortured. They will find us and cry to us, feed us, for those who have promised us fire from heaven haven't given it. And then we shall finish building their tower, for he finishes the building who feeds them. And we alone shall feed them in thy name, declaring falsely that it is thy name. Oh, never, never, never can they feed themselves without us. No science will give them bread so long as they remain free. In the end, they'll lay their freedom at our feet, and so to us, make us your slaves, but feed us. They will understand at last that freedom and bread enough for all are inconceivable together. Never, never will they be able to have both together. They will be convinced, too, that they can never be free, for they are weak, vicious, and worthless and rebellious. Thou didst promise them the bread of heaven, but I repeat again, can it compare with earthly bread in the eyes of the weak, ever sinful and ignoble race of man? And if for the sake of the bread of heaven thousands and tens of thousands shall follow, the and if for the sake of the bread of heaven thousands of tens of thousands shall follow thee, what is to become of the millions of tens of thousands of millions of creatures who will not have the strength to forego the earthly bread for the sake of the heavenly? Or dost thou care only for the tens of thousands of the great and strong, while millions of numerous as the sands of the sea, who are weak but love thee, must exist only for the sake of the great and strong? No, we care for the weak too. They are sinful and rebellious, but in the end they too will become obedient. They will marvel at us and look on us as gods because we are ready to endure the freedom which they have found so dreadful, and rule over them so awful it will seem to them to be free. But we shall tell them that we are thy servants and rule them in thy name. We shall deceive them again, for we will not let thee come to us again. That deception will be our suffering, for we shall be forced to lie. This is the significance of the first question of the wilderness, and this is what thou hast rejected for the sake of that freedom which thou hast exalted above everything. Yet in this question lies hidden the great secret of this world. Choosing bread, thou wouldst have satisfied the universal and everlasting craving of humanity. To find someone to worship, the everlasting craving of humanity to find someone to worship. So long as man remains free, he strives for nothing so incessantly and so painfully as to find someone to worship. But man seeks to worship what is established beyond dispute, so that all men would agree at once to worship it. For these pitiful creatures are concerned not only to find something that all would believe in and worship. What is essential is that all may be together in it. This craving for community of worship is the chief misery of every man, individually and of all humanity, from the beginning of time. For the sake of the common worship, they've slain each other over with sword. They've set up gods and challenged one another. Put away your gods and come and worship ours, or we'll kill you and your gods. And so it will be to the end of the world. Even when gods disappear from the earth, they will fall down before idols just the same. Thou didst know, thou couldst not but have known. This fundamental secret of human nature. But thou didst reject the one infallible banner which was offered thee, to make all men bow down to thee alone, the banner of earthly bread. And thou hast rejected it for the sake of freedom and the bread in heaven, of heaven. Behold what thou didst Behold what thou didst further. And again, in the name of freedom, I tell thee that man is tormented by no greater fear than to find someone quickly to whom he can hand over that gift of freedom with which he is born. But only one who can appease his conscience can take over his freedom. In bread... okay. I need to look away from the book for 2 seconds. Hey, what's Link doing? Are you falling asleep over there? Slept for 100 years? Need another nap? Jeez. This guy. I tell thee, the man is... Where was I? Oh, shit. Okay. Thee for nothing... in bread there was offered thee an invincible banner. Give bread, and man will worship thee. For nothing is more certain than bread. But if someone else gains possession of his conscience, then he will cast away thy bread and will follow after him who has ensnared his conscience. In that thou hast right. in that thou wast right. For the secret of man's being is not only to live, but to have something to live for. Without a stable conception of the object of life, man would not consent to go on living, and would rather destroy himself rather than remain on earth, though he had bread in abundance. That is true, but what happened? Instead of taking men's freedom from them, thou didst make it greater than ever. Didst thou forget that man prefers peace and even death to freedom of choice in the knowledge of good and evil? Nothing is more seductive for man than his freedom of conscience, but nothing is a greater nothing is a greater cause of suffering. And behold, instead of giving him a firm foundation for setting up the conscience of man at rest forever, thou didst choose all that is exceptional, vague, and puzzling. Thou didst choose what was utterly beyond the strength of men, acting as though thou didst not love them at all. Thou didst come to give thy life for them, instead of taking possession of men's freedom. Thou didst increase it, and burdened the spiritual kingdom of mankind with its sufferings forever. Thou didst desire man's free love, that he should follow thee freely, enticed and taken captive by thee. In place of the rigid ancient law, man must hereafter, with free heart, decide for himself what is good and what is evil, having only thy image before him as his guide. But didst thou not know he would at last reject even thy image and thy truth? If he is weighed down with the fearful burden of free choice, they will cry aloud at last, and that the truth is not in thee, for they could not have been left in greater confusion and suffering than thou hast caused, laying upon them so many cares and unanswerable problems. How many pages do we have left in this chapter? Oh, it's a long chapter. It's fine. We're not going anywhere. Not going anywhere at all. All right, we are on... So 10 pages. We got 10 pages left. We got this. Bear with me. Not bear with me. Fucking enjoy this. It's a good book. Read the book. So, if you're just joining us, we're reading the Brothers Karamazov, their Grand Inquisitor chapter, and Ivan, the middle of the three Brothers Karamazov, is reading to Alyosha, the youngest, his poem where he talks about God and whether or not he's real and who has authority on Earth. And basically he's talking about, like, what's good, how can you what's good and evil. So that in truth thou didst thyself lay the foundation for the destruction of thy kingdom, and no one is more to blame for it. Yet what was offered thee? There are three powers alone, able to conquer and hold captive forever the conscience of these impotent rebels. For their happiness, those forces are miracles, mystery, and authority. Thou hast rejected all three and hast set the example for doing so. When the wise and dread spirit set thee on the pinnacle of the temple and said to thee, if thou wouldst know whether thou art the Son of God, then cast thyself down, for it is written, the angels shall hold him up, lest he shall fall and bruise himself. And thou shalt know then whether thou art the Son of God, and shalt prove then how great is thy faith in thy Father. But thou didst refuse, and wouldst not cast thyself down. Oh, of course thou didst proudly and well like God, but the weak, unruly race of men, are they gods? Oh, thou didst know then that in taking one step, in making one movement to cast thyself down, thou wouldst be tempting God and have lost all thy faith in him. And wouldst thou have been dashed into pieces against that earth which thou didst come to save? And the wise spirit that tempted thee would have rejoiced. But I ask again, are there many like thee? And couldst thou believe for one moment that men too could face such temptation? Is the nature of men such that they can reject miracles at the great moments of their life, the moments of their deepest, most agonizing spiritual difficulties, cling only to the free verdict of the heart? Oh, thou didst know that thy deed would be recorded in the books, would be handed down to the remote times and the utmost ends of the earth, and thou didst hope that man following thee would cling to God and not ask for a miracle, but thou didst know that when man rejects miracles, he rejects God too. For man seeks not so much God For man seeks not so much God as the miraculous. That's a good line. He will create new miracles for himself. And he will worship deeds of sorcery and witchcraft, though he might be 100 times over a rebel, a heretic, and infidel. Thou didst not come down from the cross when they shouted to thee, mocking and reviling thee, "Come down from the cross, and we will believe that thou art he." Thou didst not come down, for again thou wouldst not enslave man by a miracle, and thou didst crave faith given freely, not based on miracles. Thou didst crave for free love, and not the base raptures of the slaves before the might that has overawed him forever. But thou didst think too highly of men therein, for they are the slaves, of course, though rebellious by nature. Look around and judge. 15 centuries have passed. Look upon them. Whom hast thou raised up to thyself? I swear man is weaker and baser by nature than thou hast believed him. Can he do what thou did? By showing him so much respect, thou didst, as it were, cease to feel for him. For thou didst ask far too much from him. Thou who hast loved him more than thyself, respecting him less, thou wouldst have asked less of him. That would have been more like love, for his burden would have been lighter. He is weak and vile, though he is everywhere now rebelling against our power, and proud of his rebellion. It is the pride of the child and a schoolboy. They are little children rioting and barring out the teacher at the school, but their childish delight will end. It will cost them dearly. They will cast down temples and drench the earth with blood. They will see at last the foolish children that, though they are rebels, they are impotent rebels, unable to keep up their own rebellion. Bathed in their foolish tears, they will recognize at last that he who created them rebels must have meant to mock at them. They will say in this despair, and their utterance will be blasphemy, which will make them more unhappy still. For man's nature cannot bear blasphemy, and in the end always avenges it on itself. And so unrest, confusion, and unhappiness, that is the present lot of the man after thou didst bear so much for his freedom. Thy great prophet tells in vision and in image that he saw all those who took part in the first resurrection, and that they were of each tribe 12,000. But if there were so many of them, they must have not been men, but gods. They had borne thy cross, they had endured scores of years in the barren, hungry wilderness, living upon locusts and roots, and thou mayest indeed point with pride at those children of freedom, of free love, of free and splendid sacrifice for thy name. But remember that they were only some thousands, and what of the rest? And how are the other weak ones to blame? Because they could not endure what the strong have endured? How is the weak soul to blame that it is unable to receive such terrible gifts? Canst thou have simply come to the elect and for the elect? If so, it is a mystery and we cannot understand it. And if it is a mystery, we too have a right to preach a mystery and to teach men that it's not the free judgment of their hearts, not love that matters, but a mystery which they must follow blindly. Even against their conscience, so we have done. We have corrected thy work and founded it upon miracle, mystery, and authority. And men rejoiced that they were again led like sheep, and that the terrible gift that had brought them such suffering was at last lifted from their hearts. Were we right teaching them this? Speak. Did we not love mankind, so meekly acknowledging their feebleness, lovingly lightening their burden, and permitting their weak nature even sin without our sanction? Why hast thou come now to hinder us? Why dost thou look silently and searchingly at me with thy mild eyes? Be angry. I don't want thy love, for I love thee not. And what use is it for me to hide anything from thee? Don't I know whom I am speaking? To whom I am speaking? All I can say is known to thee already. And is it for me to conceal from thee our mystery? Perhaps it is thy will to hear it from my lips. Listen then. Listen then. We are not working with thee, but with him. That is our mystery. It's not long, 8 centuries since we have been on his side and not thine. Just 8 centuries ago, we took from him the wise and mighty spirit of the wilderness, that what thou didst reject and scorn. The last gift he offered thee, showing thee all the kingdoms of the earth, we took from him Rome and the sword of Caesar, and proclaimed ourselves sole rulers of the earth, though we have not yet been able to complete our work. But whose fault is that? Oh, the work is only beginning, but it has begun. It has long to await completion and the earth has yet much to suffer, but we shall triumph and shall be Caesars. And then we shall plan the universal happiness of man, but thou mightest have taken even the sword of Caesar. Why didst thou reject that last gift? Had thou accepted that last offer of the mighty spirit, thou wouldst have accomplished all that man seeks on earth. That is, someone to worship, someone to keep his conscience, and some means of uniting all in one unanimous, harmonious ant-heap. Because the craving for universal unity is the third and last anguish of men. Mankind as a whole has always striven to organize a universal state. There have been many great nations with great histories, but more highly they were developed, the more unhappy they were. For they felt more acutely than other people that the craving for worldwide union. The great conquerors, Timurs, Genghis Khan, whirled like hurricanes over the face of the earth, striving to subdue its people, and they too were but the unconscious expression of the same craving for the universal unity. Hadst thou taken the world and Caesar's purple, thou wouldst have founded the universal state and have given universal peace. For who can rule men if not he who holds their conscience and their bread in his hands? We have taken the sword of Caesar, and in taking it, of course, have rejected thee and followed him. Oh, ages are yet to come of the confusion of free thought, and of their conscience and cannibalism. For having begun to build their Tower of Babel without us, they will end, of course, with cannibalism. But then the beast will crawl to us and lick our feet and spatter them with tears of blood, and we shall sit upon the beast and raise the cup, and on it will be written mystery. But then, only then, the reign of peace and happiness will come for men. Thou art proud of thine elect, but thou hast only the elect, while we get the rest to all. And besides, how many of those elect, those mighty ones who could become elect, have grown weary waiting for thee, and have transferred and will transfer the powers of their spirit and the warmth of their heart to the other camp, and by raising their free banner against thee, thou didst thyself lift up that banner, but with us all will be happy, and will no more rebel nor destroy one another as under thy freedom. Oh, we shall persuade them that they will only become free when they renounce their freedom, or renounce their freedom to us and submit to us. And shall we be right, or shall we be lying? They'll be convinced that we are right, for they will remember the horrors of slavery and confusion to which thy freedom brought them. Freedom, free thought and conscience will lead them into such straits, and will bring them face to face with such marvels and insoluble mysteries, that some of them, the fierce and rebellious, will destroy themselves. Others, rebellious but weak, will destroy one another. The rest, weak and unhappy, will crawl fawning to our feet and whine to us. Yes, you are right. You alone possess his mystery, and we come back to you, save us from ourselves. Receiving bread from us, they will see clearly that we take the bread made by their hands from them to give it to them without any miracle. They will see that we do not change the stones to bread, but in truth that they will be more thankful for taking it from our hands than for the bread itself. For they will remember only too well that in the old days, without our help, even the bread they made turned into stones in their hands, while since they have come to back us, the very stones have turned to bread in their hands. Too well they know the value of complete submission. And until men know that, they will be unhappy. Who is the most to blame for their not knowing it? Speak. Who's the most to blame for their not knowing it? Speak. Who scattered the flock and sent it astray on unknown paths? But the flock will come together again and will submit once more, and then it will be once and for all. Then we shall give them the quiet, humble happiness of weak creatures, such as they are by nature. Shall we persuade them at last not to be proud? For thou didst lift them up, and thereby taught them to be proud. We show them that they are weak, that they are only pitiful children, but that childlike happiness is the sweetest of all. They will become timid and will look at us and huddle close to us in fear, and as chicks to the hen. They will marvel at us, and they will be awe-stricken before us, and will be proud at our being so powerful and clever that we have been able to subdue such a turbulent flock of thousands of millions. They will tremble impotently before our wrath. Their minds will grow fearful. They will be quick to shed tears like women and children, but they will be just as ready at a sign from us to pass to laughter and rejoicing, to happy mirth and childish song. Yes, we shall set them to work, but in their leisure hours we shall make their lives like a child's game, with children's songs and innocent dance. Oh, we shall allow them even sin. They are weak and helpless. They will love us like children because we allow them to sin. We shall tell them that every sin will be atoned if it is done with our permission. We shall tell them that we allow them to sin because we love them, and the punishment for these sins that we take upon ourselves, and we shall take it upon ourselves and we shall take it upon ourselves, and they will adore us as their savior because we have taken on their sins before God. And they will have no secrets from us. We shall allow or forbid them to live with their wives and mistresses, to have or not to have children according to whether they have been obedient or disobedient. And they will submit to us gladly and cheerfully. The most painful secrets of their conscience, all they will bring to us, and we shall have an answer for all. And they will be glad to believe our answer, for it will save them from the great fear and terrible agony they endure at present in making a free decision for themselves. And all will be happy, all the millions of creatures except the 100,000s who rule over them. For only we who guard the mystery shall be unhappy. There will be thousands of millions of happy ones, and 100,000 sufferers, who have taken upon themselves the curse of the knowledge of the good and evil. Peacefully they will die, peacefully in thy name. And beyond the grave they will find nothing but death. But we shall keep the secret, and for their happiness we shall allure them with the reward of heaven and eternity. Though if it were anything in the other world, it certainly would not be for such as they, or for such as they. It is prophesied that thou wilt come again in victory, thou wilt come with thy chosen, the proud and the strong, and we will say that they have only saved themselves. But we have saved all. We are told that the harlot who sits upon the beast and holds in her hands the mystery shall be put to shame, that the weak shall rise up again and will rend her royal purple and will strip her naked and loathsome body. But then I will stand up and point out to thee the thousand millions of happy creatures who have known no sin. And we who have taken their sins upon us for their happiness will stand up before thee and say, Judge us if thou canst and darest know. Know that I fear thee not. Know that I too have been in the wilderness. I too have lived on roots and locusts. I too prized the freedom with which thou hast blessed men. And I... Hey, Tyrion. All right, let's where? Get out of my way, cat. You're gonna rub my book here for me? That's nice of you. Just 1 second. Where am I? Hi. I'm reading.
No. But just barely?
I'm still reading. It's a long chapter. I've got...
I mean, you haven't played it all?
It's... the game's been there. But I've been reading. It's fine.
Okay, I don't get it.
Love you. Where the hell was I? Stupid cat coming in and distracting me. Okay, but I awakened and would not serve madness. Okay, that's right. All right, there he was. Let's back up just a tad. Blah 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 blah. Know that I too have been in the wilderness, and I too have lived on roots and locusts. I too prized the freedom with which thou hast blessed man, and I too was striving to stand among thy elect, among the strong and powerful, thirsting to make up the thirsting to make up the number, but I awakened and would not serve madness. I turned back and joined the ranks of those who have corrected thy work. I left the proud and went back to the humble for the happiness of the humble. What I say to thee will come to pass, and our dominion will be built up. I repeat, tomorrow thou shalt see that obedient flock who, at a sign from me, will hasten to heap up the hot cinders about the pile on which I shall burn thee for coming to hinder us. For if anyone has ever deserved our fires, it is thou. Until tomorrow I shall burn thee. I have spoken. Ivan stopped. He had been carried away as he talked and spoke with excitement. Now he suddenly smiled. Alyosha had listened in silence. Toward the end, he was greatly moved and seemed several times on the point of interrupting, but he restrained himself. Now his words came with a rush. But that's absurd, he cried. Your poem is in the praise of Jesus, not... Your poem is in praise of Jesus, not in blame of him, and as you meant it to be. And who will believe you about freedom? Is that the way to understand it? That's not the idea of it in the Orthodox Church. That's Rome, and not even the whole of Rome. It's false. Those are the worst Catholics and the Inquisitors, the Jesuits. And there could not be such a fantastic creature as your Inquisitor. What are these sins of mankind they take on themselves? Who are these keepers of the mystery who have taken some curse upon themselves for the happiness of mankind? When have they been seen? We know the Jesuits. They are spoken ill of, but surely they are not what you describe. They are not that at all. Not at all. They are simply the Romish army for the earthly sovereignty of the world in the future with the pontiff of Rome for the emperor. That's their ideal, but there's no sort of mystery about it. It's simple lust for power, for filthy earthly gain, for domination. Something like that, a universal serfdom with them as masters. That's all they stand for. They don't even believe in God, perhaps. Your suffering, Grand Inquisitor, is a mere fantasy. Wait, laughed Ivan. How upset you are. A fantasy, you say. Let it be so. Of course it's a fantasy, but let me say, do you really think that the Roman Catholic movement of the last centuries is actually nothing but the lust for power? For earthly gain? For filthy earthly gain? Is that Father Pacey's teaching? No, on the contrary. Father Pacey did once say something rather the same as you, but of course it is not the same, not at all the same, Alyosha quickly corrected himself. A precious admission in spite of your not at all the same. I ask why your Jesuits and Inquisitors have not united simply for a vile material gain. Why can there not be among them one martyr oppressed by great sorrow and loving humanity? Only suppose that there was one such man among all those who desire nothing but filthy material gain. If there's only one like my old Inquisitor, who had himself eaten roots in the desert and made frenzied efforts to subdue his flesh and to make himself free and perfect. But yet all his life he loved humanity, and suddenly his eyes were opened and he saw that it was no great moral blessedness to attain perfection and freedom, if at the same time one gains the conviction that millions of God's creatures have been created as a mockery, that they will never be capable of using their freedom, that these poor rebels can never turn into giants to complete the tower, that it was not for such geese that the great idealists dreamt dreamt his dream of harmony, seeing all that he turned back and joined the clever people. Surely that could have happened. Surely that could have happened. Joined whom? With what clever people? Cried Alyosha, completely carried away. They have no such great cleverness, and no mysteries, and secrets, and perhaps nothing but atheism. That's all their secret. Your Inquisitor does not believe in God. That's his secret. There's a shouting about. What if he doesn't believe in God? At last you have guessed it. What if he doesn't believe in God? At last you've guessed it. It's perfectly true that that's the whole secret. But isn't that suffering at last, at least for a man like that who has wasted his whole life in the desert and yet could not shake off his incurable love of humanity? In his old age, he reached the clever conviction that nothing but the advice of the great dread spirit could build up any tolerance, any tolerable sort of life for the feeble, unruly, incompetent, empirical creatures created in jest. And so, convinced of this, he sees that he must follow the counsel of the wise spirit, the dread spirit of the death and destruction, and accept lying and deception, and lead men consciously to death and destruction. He sees that he must deceive them all the way so that they may not notice. The cat's trying to get into the bathroom, but he can't because he doesn't know how to work a door handle. What a stupid cat. He sees that he must deceive them all the way. He sees that he must deceive them all the way so that they may not notice where they are being led. That the poor blind creatures may at least on the way think themselves happy. And note, the deception is in name of him, in whose ideal the old man had so fervently believed all his life. Is it not tragic? Is it not tragic? Is not that tragic? And if only one such stood at the head of the whole army, filled with the lust for power, only for the sake of filthy gain, would not one such be enough to make a tragedy? More than that, one such standing at the head is enough to create the actual leading idea of the Roman Church. With all its armies and Jesuits, its highest idea. I tell you frankly that I firmly believe that there has always been such a man among those who stood at the head of the movement. Who knows, there may have been some such even among the Roman popes. Who knows, perhaps the spirit of the accursed old man who loves mankind so obstinately in his own way is to be found even now in the whole multitude of such old men, existing not by chance but by agreement. Perhaps these old men formed a secret league long ago in the guarding of the mystery, to guard it from the weak and the unhappy, so as to make them happy. No doubt it is so, and so it must be indeed. I believe that even among the Masons there's something of the mystery, and that's why the Catholics detest the Masons. They feel that the Masons are breaking up the unity of the idea, while it is so essential that there should be one flock and one shepherd. But from the way I defend my idea, you might think that I am angry at your criticism. Enough of it. Maybe you are a Mason yourself, said Alyosha suddenly. You don't believe in God, he added, speaking, this time very sorrowfully. He felt that his brother was looking at him ironically. How does your poem end? He asked, suddenly looking down. Or was that the end? I meant to end it like this. When the Inquisitor stopped speaking, he waited some time for his prisoner to answer him. His silence weighed down upon him. He saw the prisoner had listened carefully all the time, looking gently in his face, but evidently he did not want to reply. The old man longed for him to say something, however bitter and terrible. But he suddenly approached the old man in silence and softly kissed him on the forehead. That was his answer. The old man shuddered. His lips moved. He went to the door, opened it, and said to him, "Go and come no more. Come not at all, never, never." And he let him out, and into the dark alleys of the town. The prisoner went away. And the old man? The kiss glows in his heart, but the old man holds to his idea. "And you with him? And you with him, you too?" cried Alyosha sadly. Ivan laughed. "Why, it's all nonsense, Alyosha. It's only a senseless poem of a senseless student who could never write 2 lines of verse. Why do you take it so seriously? Surely you don't think I'm going straight off to the Jesuits to join them who are correcting his work? Good Lord, it's no business of mine. I told you, all I want is to live on to 30 and then dash the cup to the ground. But the little sticky leaves and the precious tombs and the blue sky and the woman you love, how will you live and how will you love them?" Alyosha asked sorrowfully. "With such a hell in your heart and your head, how can you? No, that's just what you're going away for, to join them. If not, you will kill yourself, You can't endure it." "There's a strength to endure it, everything," Ivan said with a cold smile. "Love you." Are you going out back? Okay. "What strength? The strength of the Karamazovs. The strength of the Karamazov baseness. To sink into debauchery, to stifle your soul with corruption? Possibly even that. Only perhaps till I am 30, I will escape it then. I will escape it, and then, how will you escape it? By what will you escape it? That's impossible with your ideas. In the Karamazov way." "Everything is lawful, you mean? Everything is lawful, you mean? Everything is lawful? Is that it?" Ivan scowled, and all at once turned strangely pale. You're repeating yesterday's phrase, which so offended Musov, and which Dmitri pounced upon so naively and paraphrased. He smiled queerly. "Yes, if you like everything is lawful, since the word has been said, I won't deny it. And Dmitri's version isn't bad. Alyosha looked at him in silence. "I thought that in going away from here I would have at least have you," Ivan said suddenly with unexpected feeling, "but now I see that there is no place for me, even in your heart, my dear hermit. The formula, all is lawful, I won't renounce. Will you renounce me for that?" Alyosha got up and went to him and softly kissed him on the forehead. "That's plagiarism," cried Ivan, highly delighted. "You stole that from my poem, but you can't. But thank you. Come, Alyosha, it is time. It is time we are going, both of us." They went out, but stopped when they reached the street. "Listen, Alyosha," Ivan began with determination. "If I am really able to care for the sticky little leaves, I will only love them remembering you. I will only love them remembering you. It's enough for me that you are somewhere here, and I won't lose my desire for life yet. Is that enough for you? Take it as a declaration of love if you like. And now, you go to the right and I to the left. And it's enough, do you hear? Enough? I mean, even if I don't go away tomorrow, I think I certainly will go. And we meet again. Don't say another word on these subjects. I ask that of you particularly. And about Dmitri, too. I ask you especially never to speak to me again." He added with a sudden irritation, "That's all been said, exhausted. It has all been said over and over again. hasn't it? And I'll make you one promise in return. When at 30 I want to dash the cup to the ground, wherever I may be, I'll come to have one more talk with you. Even though I have to come from America. You may be sure of that. I'll come. It'll be very interesting to have a look at you, to see what you'll be by that time. It's a rather solemn promise. We may be parting now for 7 years or 10. Come, go now to your pater Seraphicus. He is dying. If he dies without you, you will be angry at me for having kept you. Goodbye. Kiss me once more. That's right. Now go. Ivan turned suddenly and went his way without looking back. It was just as Dmitri had left Alyosha the day before, though the parting had been very different. The strange resemblance flashed like an arrow through Alyosha's mind in the distress of dejection of that moment. He waited a little, and looking after his brother, he noticed that Ivan swayed as he walked, and that his right shoulder was lower than his left. He had never noticed it before. Then, all at once, he turned too, and almost ran to the monastery. It was nearly dark, and he felt almost frightened. Something new was growing up in him for which he could not account. The wind had risen again, as on the previous evening, and the ancient pines murmured gloomily about him. When he entered the grove close by the hermitage, Pater Seraphicus, he got that name from somewhere. From where? Alyosha wondered. Ivan, poor Ivan. And when will I see you again? Here is the hermitage. Yes, that is he, Pater Seraphicus. He will save me from him forever. Several times afterwards, Alyosha wondered how he could, on leaving Ivan, so completely forget his brother Dmitri. He had that morning, only a few hours before, so firmly resolved to find him and not to give up doing so, even should he be unable to return to the monastery that night. I remember that. Alright, and that's that chapter. I read a chapter of a book to you. Fucking nerds. Yeah, that's right. I read that book chapter, and you listened. You sat there and you listened. Looking up now. What's all this? I think. So you're watching. What'd you think of the book? The Grand Inquisitor. I know I could have been a little bit smoother with some of the delivery, but I didn't expect it to be that long. And also, it's way more, because it was Ivan's poem, it was way more like verse speak than the rest of the book. But I seriously highly recommend this book. It's really damn good. And just posted some good shit there. And I noticed one thing that Ivan said at the beginning of that. And it's like, okay, make sure that man has bread before you ask him for virtue. Like, okay, I'm not gonna be mad at somebody for stealing food. I stole a loaf of bread to feed my sister's son. Who am I? I'm 24601? That's bullshit. Make sure people's material needs are met. And guess what happens? Guess. Yeah, things get better. You guys have been watching me read this whole time? That's rude. What am I doing? Where do I gotta go? I gotta go to that thing? I don't want to buy anything in here. I looked at all this stuff. Got some sand seals. Sava. I guess it's true. I heard the guards talking about it. Blah, 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 blah. Made it all the way here in the shroud. Oh, did you? I did not, because I'm not a loser.
Yeah, I walked. Well, I mean, I used my glider. Finding... That's even harder. Why is it so hard? You're such a prankster. You must have... I didn't. Are you just... Is this just your way of telling me that there's a place that I can rent them? Got questions, sand seals. Can I feed you? I'd like to feed you. That's for you, stupid. Eat it. Just so long as you can't rent out any sand. Patricia, I'm seriously changing jobs. This is my chance. Kick that thing. What's in it? Oh, just some rupees. That's nice. I like rupees. Excuse that hiccup. Where the hell am I going? What's this? Reju of Gerudo Town. Hey, what's this? I want that. Look at that cute little... I need it. Oh my god, can I... What can I fuse with it? Can I fuse... I know exactly what to fuse. Ah, look, now I'll always have a little stuffed animal on my back. The design of this metal... I hope Chief is okay. Maybe I should go after her, but I'm just the attendant Patricia. I would be acting against her wishes too. If I were to go though, I could just go through here. It'll come out to the northern ruins. Who's Patricia? Ah, my apologies. What are you apologizing for this time? Is the Chief's beloved sand seal, and you heard sand seals, right? Absolutely, I know about sand seals. And Patricia is a very special one. She seemingly has the power of an oracle. Or she did ever since the upheaval. She's mostly just been sharing these strange numbers. I've been her attendant for years now, but even I can't make sense of this turn of events. She's off with the Chief right now. They headed to the northern ruins. If you want to speak to Patricia, you'll probably have to wait until things settle down and the Chief isn't so busy. Northern ruins, road out there, sand seal, popping up. Sand shroud makes it navigating the blah blah. I wish this Vo would go and check on her for me. I will go and check on her for you. It's nice being able to run a little bit longer. What's this? What is this thing? I want to know what you're doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not gonna leave here, I don't think. I'm just gonna see what's up. No, I'm going down. I'm gonna go back. Whee! See you later, suckers. Hey, what's this? Some tomatoes. That's not what I wanted to do. Go with this one. Ooh, the Valley of the Silent Statues. Could I have kept... Let's keep it up. What are you doing down here? Nothing like going to stretch your legs and ending up in the strangest place. Everything looks the same down here. It would be so easy to get turned around. I wonder if the people who originally made this place got lost in it all the time too. Hey, what do you want? Were you lurking in the shadows there, eavesdropping on what I was saying? Who are you talking to? Oh, you're that Vo everyone has been talking about, right? If I were younger, I might have been surprised to see you here, but at my age, well, very little surprises me. Disappointed that I wasn't shocked aghast at the very sight of you, eh? Anyway, I'm going to go. I'm feeling a little parched, so maybe something to drink at the canteen. It's telling me that there's a canteen. All right. I think I can move this thing. And now I just sit back and relax. I don't know if I made it across or not. Oh no, it's fallen down below. What do I have for hammering purposes? I got nothing. But I'm gonna have something. Breaks easily, right? What do we have over here? We need something like this moblin horn. Gotta do some fusing. Pow! Give me that rock salt. Ooh, bomb flowers. I love bomb flowers. They make it so much easier. Take that, pot. What's this? Seriously, what is it? Huh. What is this? I'm so interested right now. You stay there. Don't you get lost now. What is this? Some sort of monster over here? Wait. Alright, but what are you? Nothing? What's all this stuff? What am I gonna do? Ooh, pots. Aw. What are you? I'll come back for you, weird thing. I don't know what you are, so I refuse to leave you. My biggest complaint about this and Breath of the Wild is that they don't have enough... What do you got there? Some sort of hole? There's not enough of this. Like, I'm Link. I want to smash a vase and get some rupees. I don't want a box. That doesn't seem like my thing. Should I fuse that thing to my stuff? Watch out for that hole. What do you have here? Knight's Halberd? I don't want you. Heh. Yeah. Give me that rock salt. I need it for cooking purposes. Oh, there's only this one? You don't want to give me the others? Also? Excuse me, please let me over to my other side of over there. Ah, I didn't need to bring this, did I? Yeah. I never used that amber. I didn't intend for this to be a cooking run. What the fuck are you? Shit. I'm gonna throw this at you. I didn't really forget who you were. Let's use this one, because... Equal... Do we want that sword or the halberd? I'm gonna... That's not what I wanted. Oh, I'm pretty close to my destination over here. Cool luminous stone you got there. should have brought my toy. What happened? Hey, what's that? There's some light now? I can go do some other stuff? How badly damaged would you say it is? Can I move this? Okay, so if I go there... Can I reach you? I can't. Guess I'm going down. Probably a bunch of Gibdos down here. And some topaz. Wait, aw man, moving sand? That wasn't part of the deal. That's a rock. What do we have over there? Some exit stuff. There's probably stuff over here I want. What's that? Oh, just a pot. Damn. Not as cool as I thought it would be. That was dumb. That was real dumb. Ah! Come here, sword. What are you? Ah, shit. Ah, shit. Give me that claymore. Here we are, like so much driftwood on the shores of life. Alright, what do I want to do here? I could just drop one of these. Yeah, fuck it. Guess we're doing it. Alright, here we go. Perfect timing. Oh, come on. We can do this. Just gotta get over there a little bit more. There was something I wanted over there. Let's do it. Woo! Hey, what's this that I found? Let's open you and see what's inside. 10 arrows. Wouldn't you know? Got a few something. We could just fast travel up, but then we'd miss all this wonderful ladder climbing. Wonderful ladder climbing. Gonna do another one here. Oh no, where am I gonna go? Did I go too high? Hey, what do you want me to do here? That's some nice sun. Nice warm sun on my back. Let's go get you your fucking toy that I moved over there for some reason. I wonder if it's still over there, or did it reset? I don't see it, so I'm gonna guess that it reset over here. What's it gonna do when we see this thing? Where's it gonna go? Damn, maybe it didn't reset. Maybe it's still all the way over there. Are you a block that I can move? You're not. None of you are. No, not fusing anything. We're going back in time. Give me the weird thing that I had. I need it down there. I don't need it where I am. I need the weird thing. Give me the weird thing. Have you ever seen the weird thing? Just gonna drop that, set it down just a tad. Now we're going to please don't fall, damn you. All right, we need to get our sails right on over there. It's fine, it's fine. We can keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. We're gonna get our energy back someday. Oh man. All right, let's get this right up here. You, my friend, can go right over here. Right up here. This is where I'd like... Oh shit, where are you? Come on. Where'd you go? works. Alright, so I can go up right there, I think. Not a fan. Fuck. I'm gonna do this and maybe get that halberd up there to help. Shit. That's fine, just did a little spinny bit for no real reason. What's going on over there? Okay. Alright, as soon as I get that thing up here, I'm gonna have to call this an evening. Not have to, but it's just when I've decided to. I didn't realize it was stuck. Now, this thing. You coming? I'd like you to be up. Shit. Can I just skip this? I don't...
When the glow of the blood-stained moon shines upon the land.
The aimless spirits of slain monsters return to flesh.
Stupid monsters. Ah, they're real. I wish I hadn't lost you down there. Do. Right.
Wish I could see what my thing is doing. Alright, you are going to get some company here. There we go. Am I at the last part? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I really, really am. Oh, why did you hurt me that way? Just don't hurt me. Okay, cool. We finally got our thingy up there again. Oh man, that's close. Let's do this right. Let's show our might.
What happens? Ah, we woke up this thing. What do I get? Oh, you're moving, I see. What do you do? You're gonna move too? That's nice. Guess I should find out what's... Is there anything down there that could be shined at? I guess I should go see what these did. Oh, that's what I could do. Cool stream of light. That's all. Hey, wait, what are you? Cool. Got another one. Okay, okay. What's this one gonna do? Oh, it's just gonna move. There's a like in there, I noticed. What is in here? Nothing? You've given me nothing? Oh, there's a bubble thing. Sorry, you beautiful creature. I'm honor bound to kill you because the thing said so. Said that I wanted to get more of these after a... You don't even hurt me. I don't know why I'm killing you. Sorry. Please forgive me. Alright. What are you gonna do, electrocute me? Oh, I guess so. What can I do here? Can I splash you and hurt you? Did you die though? Okay, it broke, but he died. Shock-like stomach stone maintains Knight's broadsword, shock fruit, whatever's in this chest. Topaz. Whatever's in this chest. Gerudo Scimitar, a decaying scimitar from the Gerudo region, it designed for maximum force. Attaching it a material greatly enhances the material's power, but doesn't add much durability. Cool Knight's bow, we got it. I think with the likes, it's important to be able to rush in and do some up-close damage after you shoot them with the arrow. And I think that's something that I had forgotten and not fully taken into account. Just smashing all these pots. Smashing all these pots. Got nothing else in here? Alright. Well, let's... Actually, I think I would like... I don't need that fan. May have needed that fan. Is there something this way? Ah, right there. That seems like a good spot. It's totally happening. We're making it happen. There's nothing over here, right? No. Good. I wouldn't have liked that very much. That's better. Maybe. Are you again? Can't carry any more melee weapons, but I sure can take an arrow. Ah! You fell. Why didn't you die when I tried to kill you? Wait, why'd that stop shining up there? Anyway, I brought the light to where I am, so at least I'll feel... Oh shit. Okay. Shit's happening. I don't want to get into shit right now. So, here we go. This is me telling you that I think I already saved it, but yeah, next time around we're gonna do this again. I don't know if I'm gonna read again, but this will happen on probably Thursday. I'll probably come on here and say some words, play this game probably. I didn't get any Mario Kart, but we did get lots of Brothers Karamazov. Now you're all smarter, you're cultured now. Yeah, I don't know what else. I don't know what you want from me. So here's all I'm from me to you. Go listen to the podcast I do with my wife. Go check out the other videos I do here on this YouTube channel, and follow me on Instagram, Peter Teabags. But also, most of all, on top of all of that stuff,